The strongest duelist isn't necessarily the one with the most powerful cards, but the one that's ready for any situation. Every card has a counter, but if you've already played a round of the counter and your opponent's counter to that counter, then what could possibly stand in your way? That's the ethos of Bastion Misawa, a nerd amongst nerds. Using the power of data-driven analysis, Raw Yellow's most famous student duels with his head, not his heart, which means he isn't swayed by such tawdry things as ace cards or duel spirits. He's not tied down to any specific deck, and in fact carries around a deck for each of the game's 6 core attributes. He's that dedicated to the bit. Not that we'd get to see those decks, as he only ever gets the chance to play his water and earth decks. Sorry, Fire Dragon, I'm sure one day some poor, lonely Mazev set is gonna lower their standards and start including legacy support for GX characters, and Bastion's just the kind of side character these sets love to expand upon. Now, this episode was originally meant to focus on Bastion's new Magnet Warrior monsters, as per the request of my Quasar Commander over on the Patreon. But, I mean, when else am I gonna have the chance to talk about Bastion? So let's get all the facts straight and cover all 3, that's right 3, of this Poindexter's prolific deck profiles with Bastion Misawa explained. Now, we'll be skipping over all of the established Magnet Warrior monsters because I've already got a video you can check out right here that goes over all the ones outside of Bastion's influence. But if you want the quick rundown, Magnet Warriors are a series of Earth attribute rock-type monsters that look to get as many of their members into rotation as possible so that you can combine them into the mighty Magna Warriors, also Earth attribute rock-type monsters, who come with some removal and negation effects, if you're not functionally a vanilla. They're pretty fun monsters, and Bastion builds on them while also adding a new angle, Earth Matters, where you get various benefits as long as Earth monsters are involved in various plays. That's a pretty vague description, but you'll get what I mean in just a bit. Magnet Warrior Omega Plus is a level 4 monster with 800 attack and 1900 defense, and if this card is in your hand or grave, you can destroy one other rock monster in your hand or face up on your field, and if you do, special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. And when an Earth monster's effect is activated on the field as a quick effect, you can tribute this card, then target a face-up monster on the field and change it to face-down defense position. Now, our current spread of rock-type monsters don't necessarily combo with having their own cards destroyed. That's more of a fiend thing. But if you've got a Pebble on the field that's not doing you too much, you can swap it out for Omega Plus as needed to get a Book of Moon online. This is the first of our Earth Matters type cards, adding a little extra bonus whenever one activates their effect on the field. But because it's a quick effect, you'll have to ensure that your opponent doesn't respond to your Earth monster effects, because then you won't be able to respond to that specifically. Unless your opponent's on Earth monsters, but what are the odds of that? Another thing to keep in mind is that it will banish itself if you use its special summon effect from either the hand or the graveyard. But another thing rocks have at their disposal is good rank 4 options, specifically Gallant Granite. So as long as you can use this monster as Xyz material, it'll go back to your graveyard instead of being banished, so you can use it again on a later turn, which I find to be a huge plus. Magnet Warrior Sigma Minus is a level 4 monster with 1500 attack and 1800 defense, and once per turn when an attack is declared involving 2 Earth monsters, you can negate that attack. Also, you can reveal this card in your hand to fusion summon a fusion monster from your extra deck, using rock monsters from your hand or field, including this card. And if this card is normal or special summoned, you can send a level 8 Magna Warrior monster from your deck to the graveyard. Folks, we love it when a fusion effect is stapled onto a monster, especially when you get to use it as fusion material. Now, sadly, we can't use this to make our only established fusion before this point, Empyrean Magnum, the superconductive battle bot, fantastic name by the way. But we've got a new one on theme, as well as one off theme, that this gives amazing access to. Or, just summon it to start binning your big Magna Warriors. They may not look like they work well in the grave, but trust me, we've got some shenanigans in store. But it's the first effect that's the most interesting. This is where we see how Bastion's predilection for the scientific informs the kind of cards that he plays. Much like how in nature, 2 objects with the same magnetic pole will repel each other, Sigma Minus can take 2 Earth monsters and keep them from making contact. It's always really cool to see game mechanics reflecting real-world phenomena. Not only is it intuitive if you know about it, you've also got a way to explain it in case, I don't know, just random idea off the top of my head. Someone needs to know how magnets work or something like that. Magnet Warrior Sigma Plus is a level 4 monster with 1800 attack and 1500 defense, and while you control an Earth monster, your opponent's monsters that can attack must attack Earth monsters. And while your opponent controls an Earth monster, you choose the attack targets for your opponent's attacks. If this card is sent to the grave, you can target one level 4 or lower Magnet Warrior monster in your grave, accept a copy of itself, and add it to your hand or special summon it. This seems a bit contradictory, kind of like how Sigma Minus had an in-hand and on-summon effect that don't really interact with each other. Sigma Plus seems to want you to keep it on the field for battle manipulation, but also send it to the graveyard to grab a card out of the yard. But thankfully, both of these effects will come into play very often with the help of another card we'll talk about soon. For now, it's great to have a card that's a monster reborn once you slam it into the grave, and its on-field effect is another magnet-themed one. Where Sigma Minus controlled repelling forces, Sigma Plus manipulates attractive forces, drawing your opponent's monsters in for attacks, which you can take full advantage of so long as your opponent controls an Earth as well, letting you choose those attack targets. But how in the world are we going to ensure our opponent controls one of the most common attributes in the game? Oh well, big flavor win, but shame we'll never get to see it work consistently. Conduction Warrior Linear Magnum Plus Minus is a level 7 Earth Rock monster with 2700 attack and 1300 defense that can't be normal summoned or set, and must be special summoned from your hand by sending 2 Magnet Warrior monsters with an original level of 4 or lower from your hand, deck, and or face-up field to the grave, and you can only special summon copies of this card once per turn. You can target one other Earth monster on the field, and this card gains half that monster's attack until the end of this turn, and if this card is destroyed and sent to the grave, you can add this card to your hand. So just looking at what it does on the field, this card is pretty mediocre. It can get pretty big with a base 2700 attack, it can easily clear the 3k threshold, but everything else about this card makes it a wild starter. You get to double Foolish Burial your Magnet Warriors as part of that summoning condition, making it one of them newfangled circulars the kids are talking about. And if destroyed, it just goes right back to your hand to use it again! Which means that Omega Plus's effect to summon itself by destroying a rock actually synergizes with something, giving you another opportunity to flood your grave with Magnet Warriors. We already saw that Sigma Plus gets you a free Magnet Warrior out of the grave when it goes there, so you're getting like 2 free monster summons for no commitment. This is one of the biggest boons any deck could ask for. And if recent tournament showings have proven anything, the fact that it doesn't lock you out of anything makes it a great engine to plug into just about any deck. The only problem is that it can make your play lines a little linear. Tolusion, the Magna Warrior, is a level 8 monster with 2500 attack and defense, and can't be normal summoned or set. It must be special summoned from the grave by banishing a Magnet Warrior Sigma Plus and Magnet Warrior Sigma Minus from your hand, face-up monster zone, and or graveyard. Once per turn, when your opponent activates a card or effect as a quick effect, you can target a monster your opponent controls and destroy it. Or, if the target is an Earth monster, you can take control of it instead. And during your opponent's turn, as a quick effect, you can tribute this card to special summon 2 of your banished Magnet Warrior Sigma monsters. So Sigma Minus pitching our Magna Warriors is actually kind of required to get this online, because its summoning condition only works while in the grave, but I'm sure not complaining. Between that and its own effect to tag out into the component Sigmas, you've got a loop that generates you a ton of value every turn. Each time you bring him back, Minus sends a new Magna Warrior to your graveyard. Yes, we still have uses for the other ones. Then you can send them off to the graveyard as link material or something to trigger plus to get a free Magnet Warrior. Then you banish them to get Tolusion, and now you're ready to do it all over again. As for Tolusion itself, the reactive monster pop is solid. Nothing game-breaking, but it's nice to have interaction, especially if you hit the jackpot and nab an Earth monster, because now you get to bolster your own forces while taking a card away from your opponent. So whether you're plus or minus, your opponent's going to have a hard time blocking this one. Conduction Warrior Plasma Magnum is a level 7 Earth Rock fusion monster with 2300 attack and 2800 defense, requiring any 2 Earth Rock monsters as material. While on the field, face-up monsters on the field become Earth attribute, and if this card is fusion summoned, you can add a Magnet Normal, Quick Play, or Field spell from your deck to your hand, and you can send a level 8 Magna Warrior from your deck to the grave to, immediately after this effect resolves, normal summon a level 4 or lower Magnet Warrior. Okay, all my lamp shading has resolved at this point. It turns out we do in fact have a way to ensure our opponent is running Earth attribute monsters, and that's by overriding their own printed attributes. This makes Omega Plus a bit better because now it can consistently respond to your opponent's effects. Sigma Minus has more access to its attack negate, and Sigma Plus can now just tell everyone where to punch. Aside from that, Plasma Magnum fulfills a similar role to our other Conduction Warrior, being an engine piece, and a darn good one at that. We get to pick up just about all the magnet spells in the game, with the exclusion of Electromagnetic Shield and Ring of Magnetism, neither of which we're really jonesing for. And it fills up our grave even further while getting our little creatures out of the hand where they belong, in the crossfire, because, you know, Magnum. And while it's not a Magnet Warrior card, I'm not really going to have a tech pick section to talk about this card that was made pretty much specifically for Magnet Warriors. Flux Oxenfeld is a level 7 Earth Rock monster with 2600 attack and 2000 defense, requiring a level 5 or higher Earth monster and a Rock monster as material. If this card is fusion summoned, you can special summon a rock monster from your hand or grave except a copy of this card, and as a quick effect, you can target an earth monster you control and a card your opponent controls and return them to the hand. And you can only use each effect of this card once per turn, and you can't activate more than one of them in the same chain. The big hurdle here is that you're gonna need that big earth monster to complete the fusion on this, but if you have the material for Plasma Magnum hanging around anyway, it's a nice option just in case. Especially because its on-summon effect basically refunds you one of the fusion material, or any other rock monster you need to get back onto the field. And it adds a great element to the deck: reactive removal. Sure, returning cards to the hand isn't hard removal, but it's still amazing against monsters that started the game in the extra deck, and you're putting your own earth monsters back into your hand to use again. It's a win-win. This is an outstanding card for the theme, with my only disappointment being that I can't make some kind of flux capacitor joke, because I realized looking at this that this card is one letter away from being called Flux Oxenfeld, and I'm just too full of disappointment to continue at this point. Magnet Bonding is a quick play spell card that you can activate during the main phase to use one of 3 effects, but you can only use each effect of it once per turn. First, you can either add a Conduction Warrior Linear Magnum plus minus, or a level 4 or lower Magnet Warrior from your deck to your hand. Second, you can add a level 8 Magna Warrior monster from your deck to your hand. And third, you can fusion summon a rock fusion monster from your extra deck by shuffling rock monsters from your hand, field, grave, and or banishment into the deck as material, all of which are supremely powerful. It essentially adds any member of the theme from your deck to your hand, including the absolute unit of Conduction Warrior Linear Magnum plus minus, but the secret special sauce is that last effect. See, Empyrean Magnum, the superconductive battle bot, being a 4000 attack and defense body with an Omni negate, is pretty wild, but the fusion materials being 2 Magna Warriors that are very unwieldy to use is not optimal. And if you want the material on hand, you probably want to play multiple copies of them, which makes the problem worse. But with all the ways you have to send your Magnas to grave, you now only need to play a single copy each of Valkyrian and Berserkian, then shuffle them back into your deck to make one absolutely chonky creature. Magnet Bonding is rapidly approaching custom card levels of fixing up this archetype, and I'm all here for it, especially because it has a sneaky connection to Bastion's next card pool. This next section is going to be more of a brief detour than analysis. Bastion's water deck revolves around the aptly named Water Dragon, formed by combining the elements found in the various periodic dinosaurs that make up the theme through various bonding cards. So that's where Magnet Bonding gets its name from. But the cards themselves aren't really much to write home about. Oxygeddon, for instance, is a level 4 wind dinosaur monster with 1800 attack and 800 defense, and if this card is destroyed by battle with a pyro monster and sent to the grave, both players take 800 points of damage. Like, what are you gonna do with that? Ram it into a Snake Eyes monster? If they have the field spell? But you've gotta play it if you want to get access to your boss monster. Hydrogeddon has a bit more going on. It's a level 4 water dinosaur monster with 1600 attack and 1000 defense, and when this card destroys a monster by battle and sends it to the grave, you can special summon another copy of Hydrogeddon from your deck. This had a bit of notoriety when Evolzars hit the scene. All of a sudden, if you could land a kill with this flat fuck, you've got all the materials you need to field 2 monster negates or a walking Solemn Judgment. But pulling off a Flamvel Firedog maneuver today is a little rough and hasn't been viable for some time. Recently, and by recently I mean almost a decade ago, Oh, man. We got a third member, Duotarian, a level 5 water dinosaur monster with 2000 attack and 1400 defense, which you can discard to add a bonding spell or trap card from your deck to your hand. And if it's normal or special summoned, you can target a Hydrogeddon, Oxygeddon, or Duotarian in your graveyard and special summon it, getting you some material to help with your bonding effects. Or heck, get another Duotarian for a rank 5. Have fun with your Freezer Dawn, I'm not your boss. The funny thing is though, this can get you magnet bonding, so there is an argument to be made to play this in Magnet Warriors. And I mean, I know it's water, but the Magnet Warriors aren't necessarily electrical parts, so they should be fine to mix, right? Oh, and mostly a side tangent here, Bastion also has Carboneddon, a level 3 earth dinosaur monster with 800 attack and 600 defense, and if it battles a fire monster during damage calculation, it gains 1000 attack during damage calculation only. You can also banish this card from your graveyard to special summon from your hand or deck a level 7 or lower dragon type normal monster in face-up defense position. Now, in the anime, Bastion uses this to summon out Hyozanryu, which is on point since the carbon-based monster would turn into a diamond dragon, a gemstone made of carbon. But in the actual paper game, this actually saw some decent play on a competitive level, at least more than the other cards in this section. That's because you could banish this to summon some normal dragon tuners like Flamvel Guard, Galaxy Serpent, or even Labradorite Dragon to pull off some synchro plays, with the last one being prevalent in the summoning of Ultimaya Zulkin. Very funny to me that this card that's otherwise been completely written out of Bastion's roster puts the rest of them to shame. But it just goes to show that you can never see what your cards are really made out of unless you put them under pressure. Before we get to the payoff monsters, let's talk about the cards that get us to those monsters, the Bonding Spell and Traps. Starting with Bonding H2O, a normal spell card that has you attributing 2 Hydrogeddon and 1 Oxygeddon to special summon a Water Dragon from your hand, deck, or graveyard. We've got another example of how Bastion's cards seek to replicate real-world science. Since molecules of water are made of 2 hydrogen atoms and an oxygen one, using 2 Hydrogeddons and 1 Oxygeddon to make your Water Dragon is pretty on point. That being said, this card is garbage because not only do you have to, presumably, trigger the Hydrogeddon effect to get the second copy on board, you've also got to get that Oxygeddon on board too. Completely untenable situation. Well, without help. This has become a bit more viable thanks to a new Water Dragon that we've got, but it's still at the bottom of the barrel. Thankfully, we've got a good alternative in Bonding D2O, a normal spell card that tributes 2 Duotarian and an Oxygeddon from your hand and or field to special summon a Water Dragon or Water Dragon cluster from your hand, deck, or grave, a summon that's treated as having used Bonding H2O, which is necessary for base Water Dragon. And if either of those Water Dragons are sent from the field to the grave while this card is in the grave, you add this card to your hand. Now, because this card can summon from the graveyard, that recursion makes for a loop so long as you get the material back, and we do have a function for doing this, almost. Sadly, it recycles 2 Hydrogeddon and not 2 Duotarian, so we're still not in a great position. Lastly, we have Bonding DHO, a normal trap card that shovels a Duotarian, a Hydrogeddon, and an Oxygeddon from your hand and or grave into the deck to special summon a Water Dragon cluster from your hand or grave. And you can banish this card from your grave to add a Water Dragon or Water Dragon cluster from your deck or grave to your hand. So hey, cool to see we have a way to summon our big monsters that utilizes our materials in the graveyard, and while being a trap card is a little clunky, given what Water Dragon cluster is capable of, it's actually a strong piece of interaction. And the recursion while in the graveyard isn't half bad either. These cards aren't great, but at least they've got good chemistry. Okay, now that we've gone through our atoms and our beakers, it's time for the actual bosses of the bonding theme, starting with Water Dragon, a level 8 water sea serpent monster with 2800 attack and 2600 defense that can't be normal summoned or set, and must be special summoned via the effect of Bonding H2O. While on the field, the attack of fire attribute and pyro type monsters on the field become 0, and when this card is destroyed and sent to the grave, you can target 2 Hydrogeddon and an Oxygeddon in your grave and special summon them. Yeah, turns out Bastion was just ahead of his time, but think of all the Snake Eyes fields we could have flattened if we'd just given him a chance. But no, this card sucks. Flavor was prioritized over function, in this case showing us the scientific properties of the Pokemon type matchup chart, and doesn't otherwise do anything besides replace itself with more copies of the component particles when it gets destroyed and sent to the graveyard, so it is vulnerable to everyone's favorite hand trap, Dimension Shifter. Please clap for Dimension Shifter. This is why D2O is only partly a loop. We might get the spell back, but not the Duotarians. However, we would see a new take on this monster with Water Dragon Cluster, a level 10 Water Sea Serpent monster with 2800 attack and 2600 defense that can be normal summoned or set, and must be special summoned with the effect of a Bonding Spell or Trap card. If this card is special summoned, you can activate this effect. Effect monsters your opponent currently controls can't activate their effects for the rest of the turn. Also, change their attack to 0 until the end of the turn. Also, as a quick effect, you can tribute this card to special summon 2 water dragons from your hand and or deck in defense position, ignoring summoning conditions. So instead of just extinguishing some fires, this drowns out everything, and I can dig that, much more useful. And bonus, you can split this into 2 water dragons, and while they sadly come out in defense position, you can utilize them for a rank 8 Xyz summon, letting your cluster muster you a game-ending buster that throws around a lot of bluster. If that's where our story ended, but we've recently been given a third member of the team in Light Water Dragon, a level 4 Water Sea Serpent monster with 1400 attack and 1300 defense that is always treated as Water Dragon. You can banish this card you control to special summon 3 level 5 or lower dinosaur monsters that are either wind or water attribute from your deck in defense position, but their effects are negated. Also, you can't special summon from the extra deck for the rest of the turn, except for dinosaur and sea serpent monsters, almost making this a Ryuga card. So this solves a lot of the deck's problems, right? For the cost of a single normal summon, or any other way to get this little sea serpent onto the field, you get to assemble all the pieces you need to activate any of the bonding spells. And there you go, you have access to water dragons. But no, despite being a card printed actually recently, it's still full of design decisions that make my head spin and cause even more problems. First up, it's always treated as Water Dragon. Now, this helps in certain contexts. Cluster can split into 2 of these if you're feeling like making a rank 4, and it's searchable by the grave effect of Bonding DHO. But it's always treated as Water Dragon, which means that Light is competing for space in the main deck with the original. For those of you unaware, there are 2 ways that cards can be named other cards. One way is that they're treated as different names while in certain zones. Cyber Dragon and Harpy Lady duelists are pretty familiar with this one. But Harpy Lady duelists that have dealt with Harpy Ladies 1, 2, 3, and Cyber are also familiar with the second kind, the "this is always treated as" version, which means even during deck building, even when writing down your deck list, they count as the same card, which means you can't run 3 water and 3 light. You have to run some combination of up to 3 of both. Now, all else being equal, that's not a huge loss. Original Water Dragon is only good for its stats and maybe its level. It's a brick otherwise, while Light Water Dragon actually does something. But it's in the interaction with other cards that this starts to be a problem. Cluster only summons from hand or deck, so in the event you actually use Light Water Dragon to bring this out, you better hope you haven't drawn the other 2 copies yet. Or worse, they've ended up in the graveyard. Now, you can summon them from your hand if you do draw them, but that sucks. This is also the reason why you can't count on playing 1 Light Water Dragon and 2 regular Water Dragons to access a rank 8, because never drawing the bricks is some magical Christmas land nonsense. Now, I'm happy for everyone who wants to play a Bastion deck for getting some extra tech options, it's cool to see. But if anything needed the update treatment like Magnet Warriors, it's the bonding cards, and since they've already shown a willingness to combine the 2 themes via Magnet Bonding, who knows, maybe we'll be seeing some updated elements to the deck in the near future. That covers the 2 decks Bastion used in the anime, but we aren't done yet. As with most things in the GX manga, Bastion has been remixed a bit, replacing his elemental rotation of decks with Yokai, a series of zombie cards that do zombie things, and you might be familiar with a few of them. These don't make up a strict archetype. At best, these are basically a list of zombie tech picks, but there are some really good ones, as well as silly ones, and I couldn't really call this Bastion Explained without them. Crow Tengu is a level 4 earth monster with 1400 attack and 1200 defense, and if this card in your possession is destroyed by your opponent's card effect and sent to the grave, or if this card is special summoned from the grave, you can target an attack position monster your opponent controls and destroy it. So it's reactive and kinda proactive? You can either revive it to get some removal and a body for other summons, or just keep it around to eat some removal and retaliate. But of all the bodies you can revive, I don't know, I think we have a lot better options, especially because it has the annoying condition of only destroying an attack position monster. This crow does not have the Tengu. Gozuki is a level 4 earth monster with 1700 attack and 800 defense, and during your main phase, you can send a zombie monster from your deck to the grave. And if this card is sent to the grave, you can banish a zombie monster from your grave, except a copy of this card, to special summon a zombie monster from your hand. This card is pretty useful, acting as a zombie foolish burial once per turn, usually for the type arguably the best at utilizing the graveyard. The secondary effect is a bit more situational, but does help for more specific zombie strategies. Valor Drakh is pretty neat, but sometimes gets stuck in your hand, an issue that Gozuki can help solve. And if you run Shiranui along with it, they make for great fodder since you get to trigger their effects when you banish them. But it pales in comparison to the impact their brother has had, Mizuki, a level 4 earth monster with 1700 attack and 800 defense, and you can banish this card from your grave, then target a zombie monster in your grave and special summon it, making it a great card to send off of Gozuki. Since their introduction, this horse has been a staple in just about any zombie deck. It gets you back tuners to make synchros, it gets huge bosses back from the grave, it pairs with cards that revive from the banishment like Different Dimension Reincarnation to give you another body and give you another shot at their effect. It's just fantastic, greasing the wheels of most zombie decks, and we thank you for your service. Without you, we'd just be hoofing it. Speaking of hooves, Long-Tailed Black Horse, a card that came out as I was recording this, is a level 4 earth monster with 1400 attack and 800 defense. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can reveal a zombie monster in your hand and send an earth zombie monster from your deck to your grave. Send the revealed monster to the grave, and if you do, this card gains 500 attack until the end of this turn. This draws a number of parallels with Gozuki. Both send zombies from deck to graveyard, and both need a zombie monster in your hand to get the full value out of them. The difference here is that I think Long-Tailed Black Horse wins out. True, Gozuki's effect is repeatable, but let's be real, you probably aren't keeping it around on the board for multiple turns to get that value. Long-Tailed Black Horse also gets that zombie into the graveyard immediately, which, once again, is the best place for zombies to be. It also can't be Ash Blossomed. That's because, while you send the zombie from your hand to your graveyard as part of the effect resolution, sending the Earth zombie from your deck to your graveyard is part of the cost. But that's part of the problem. It only sends Earth zombies. This keeps it in line with the Yokai, who are all Earth zombies, but there are plenty of Dark and even Fire zombies that do great in the graveyard that this can't touch, unlike Gozuki, who doesn't really care what's in your top right corner. That being said, you always have a great target in Mizuki, so I'd be curious to see if this actually makes the rotation into regular zombie decks moving forward, even though it's a bit of a dark horse pick. Nurikabe is a level 4 earth monster with 900 attack and 2000 defense, and if this card is in your grave except the turn it was sent there, you can pay 1000 life points, then target one other zombie monster in your grave and special summon both it and this card, but their effects are negated, also banish them when they leave the field. Sadly, because of the turn delay, this will likely never get close to Mizuki's playability, but it's not nothing. 1000 life points for 2 monsters is a great rate, and if you turn Nurikabe and what they summon into an Xyz monster, the banishing clause can be bypassed. So while it's not better than Mizuki, it does give that monster a run for its money, and for that, I've gotta give him a hand. Onmaraki is a level 4 earth monster with 1200 attack and 1000 defense, and if this card in your possession is destroyed by an opponent's card effect and sent to the grave, or is special summoned from the grave, you can draw a card. Oh, hello Sacred Crane, happy to see you back. Future Yokai cards might follow this trend since the trigger is the same as Crow Tengu, and of the two, I prefer this one, though really, who's gonna pass up card draw? Theoretically, this is a cool way to gain card advantage while going through your combo lines, but because it's not self-sufficient, it's a bit bricky to actually play. And besides, we've got to wait for its contacts to come in the mail before we use it. Otherwise, it's not going to be able to see what's going on through their eyes that are on fire. Shuten Doji is a level 4 earth monster with 1500 attack and 800 defense, and once per turn you can activate one of these effects. Either banish 2 zombie monsters from your grave to draw a card, or target one of your banished zombie monsters and place that target on top of your deck. Now, I don't know what the consensus was for this card on release, but I thought this card was going to be the next big power card for the format. Zombies were already pretty wild, so imagine having a monster that takes your free zombie reborn, Mizuki, and just puts it back into rotation for you. And you get to draw cards in a pinch? Sign me up! Sadly, Shuten Doji never really got its chance in the spotlight. Turns out trading your next draw phase for a combo card isn't all it's cracked up to be, especially since you've still got to find a way to put that Mizuki into the graveyard. And by the time we got zombies that actually liked being banished, they already had a more efficient engine to handle that. Which is a real shame. Shuten Doji has such a striking design, but you aren't really supposed to be bringing alcohol to events, so I can see why it never caught no, wait, sorry, you're not supposed to bring hot sauce to events. Goka, the Pyre of Malice, is a level 6 fire monster with 2200 attack and 1900 defense. And if you control a fire monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. When you do, target a fire monster you control and destroy that target. During each of your standby phases, special summon a fireball token in defense position, which is a level 1 fire pyro monster with 100 attack and defense. And you contribute one other fire monster to have this card gain 500 attack until the end phase. This doesn't really scream zombie support. It actually feels a lot more at home in fire decks, especially ones that love having their stuff exploded. The rest of the effects are pretty bland. You generate tokens far too slowly to be used for anything beyond the attack boost, and it takes a hefty investment to make this a legit combat threat. I think, for now, the only real utility this provides is the Destruction Enabler plus large level body, which is strange to me. I heard Malice was meta, but this seems pretty tame. Nine-Tailed Fox is a level 6 fire monster with 2200 attack and 2000 defense, and if this card is in your hand or grave, you contribute 2 monsters to special summon this card. If it's been summoned from the graveyard, it deals piercing battle damage, and if this card is destroyed by a battle or card effect and sent to the grave, you can special summon 2 Fox tokens, which are level 2 fire zombie monsters with 500 attack and defense. So if the tokens survive long enough, you can use them to bring back this card, and thus the immortal nature of the Kitsune is revealed. This is an interesting card, but not necessarily a good one. Granted, it does combo super well with Goka, the Pyre of Malice. If you pop Fox with Pyre, you'll generate a couple of tokens, which you can use to bring Fox back, and hey, that makes a rank 6. But while that is also a multiple of 3, 6 is not 9, and thus is a massive flavor fail. Shame on you, Bastion, not cool. Red Ogre is a level 7 earth monster with 2800 attack and 2100 defense, and when this card is normal summoned, you can send any number of cards from your hand to the grave, then target the same number of cards on the field and return those targets to the hand. That's, what do we do with this? Like, we have to sink 2 tributes into this just to get it started, unless we use some way to bypass it. Then we have to spend cards to bounce cards. I mean, it's strong, but it's also just outrageously costed. Maybe Blue Ogre will come along and fix this up, but until then, I'm pretty over it. Kasha is a level 8 earth monster. No, I'm not lying, those fire wheels are just for show. With question mark attack and 1000 defense that can't be normal summoned or set, and must be special summoned from your hand by controlling 2 or more zombie monsters. If this card is special summoned, shuffle as many other monsters on the field as possible into the deck. And if you do, this card's attack becomes 1000 times the number of face-up monsters shuffled into the deck this way, whose original type was zombie. So, unfortunately, you can't use Zombie World to make your opponent's monsters zombies and benefit from their attack boosts, but you are still getting rid of every other monster on the field, including yourself though, so that can be rough. This has potential to be a really nasty board wipe, especially if we get a way to summon this ignoring the summoning condition, but until then, it's just going to be spinning its wheels. Daidarabachi is a level 10 earth monster with 2900 attack and 2500 defense that can't be special summoned, and you can tribute summon this card by tributing 1 face-up zombie monster. It gains 200 attack for each zombie monster you control except this card, and at the start of the main phase 1, if you have this card and 2 or more zombie monsters other than copies of this card in your grave, you can discard a card to add this card to your hand. So, I'm glad they printed this. It's more Bastion cards for raw yellow lovers out there, but this is like, why do we care? We don't need to tribute summon to access huge pools of attack anymore. We have the extra deck. An extra deck that zombies are very proficient at using, it turns out. And having a way to recycle itself isn't helping, especially when it's taking up valuable Pot of Extravagance airtime. Especially because it can't be special summoned. can't be hyped for a card like this in the year of our Raw 2026. Now put those grubby hands back in there until you've learned how to move them like the Jongler Ghoul.
明日のライブが今から想像できる。
Enma's Judgment is a normal trap card that you can activate when your opponent special summons any number of monsters. They are destroyed, then you can banish 5 zombie monsters from your grave, and if you do, special summon a level 7 or higher zombie monster from your hand or deck. So that's, like, fine, I guess? At minimum, it's kind of like a trap hole for when your opponent special summons, with the added bonus of a free monster if your grave is full enough. And in certain zombie builds, I could see this being a benefit. But it still requires such a large investment tied to a reactive card that I'm just not feeling it. Cool that we got the Universes Beyond crossover, but I'm struggling on which version I like more. The scenery screams Dragon Ball Z, but the name, it says Yu Yu Hakusho. Decisions, decisions, decisions. Haunted Shrine is a normal trap card that you can activate if you control no monsters to target a zombie monster in your grave and special summon it. And if you control no monsters, you can banish this card from your grave, then target a zombie in your graveyard and special summon it, but this time its effects are negated, and you can only use one effect of this card per turn, and only once per turn. So if you activate the card on the field and then you get board wiped, you can't immediately get another monster back from the graveyard. Now, as a card in the graveyard, I like that we have a contingency plan in case things go sideways. As a card on the field, I'm not happy with the yield. Were it a spell card, we might be singing a different tune, but that tune would be more of a Haunted Mansion, and we sure can't afford that brand integration. Graveyard of Wandering Souls is a continuous trap card with 2 effects that you can trigger while this card is already face up on the field. First, if a monster you control is destroyed by battle and sent to the grave, special summon a Fireball token, which is a level 1 Fire Pyro monster with 100 attack and defense. Just like Goka! And the second is, if any number of monsters in your hand and or field are sent to the grave by an opponent's card effect, special summon as many Fireball tokens as possible up to the number of sent monsters, but you can only use that effect once per turn. Now, I'm pretty happy with cards that replace your monsters with little tokens to help keep your field full and ward off direct attacks. It's likely not going to make you a ton of tokens, but if your deck has any token synergies, I think you'll find this to your liking. But I also only like it casually. Making use of those tokens is going to be rough outside of a deck trying to make the most of Goka the Pyre of Malice. It's not like you're making tokens in addition to your monsters, they're just replacing them. And the one way that you can get extra Fireball tokens requires your opponent to send monsters from your hand to the graveyard. And to do that, your opponent has to be using those effects, which is either not going to be the case, or their deck is so optimized to hand rip that A, it's gonna happen faster than you can establish this, usually, and B, probably isn't sending those cards from your hand to the graveyard. Hello, Trishula. So find what fun you can with this, but if you bring this to an event, don't be surprised that you're its sole user. And there we go, all of Bastion's iconic cards from all his various walks of life. Are they good? Rarely. Are they memorable? Almost never. But between cards that have some genuinely evocative design and some real sleeper hits, it's hard to write off Mr. Misawa, even if everyone else in GX has already done that. But now, I want to hear from all of you. What would you like to see out of a Bonding Series retrain? Are you liking the new additions to Magnet Warriors? Let me know down below, and if you haven't already, please be sure to like the video if you liked it, subscribe so you don't miss an episode, check out one of my videos in the sidebar to help me show up on your homepage, and share this video with somebody you know who loves Yu-Gi-Oh! It really does a lot to help me out. Today's episode is brought to you by Dragon Shield. Get the sleeves as strong as dragon scales and save 5% on your order by using the coupon code GoldenNova at checkout while helping out the channel. It was also brought to you by my lovely patrons, including this month's illustrious Quasar Commanders, Upstairs Media and the Critic of Innocence, Nebula Navigators, 3rd Dynasty, Ada Basilisk, Adam Zajdel, Ancient Wizard, Andrew Newman, Battle Axe, Beastsman, Charlie Mercury, Chibi Gohan, Christopher Fuss, Clockswork, Comrade Kapapapamba, Eric, Frankie, Great Big Pillock, Groog, Hairbear, Harry the Ominous Benefactor, Iron Zero, Iskander 711, Carp, Marion James E. Picata, Meme King, Muse Clark, Orozco 09096, Panther J, Pat Poos, Rebel King Lucifer, Red Eyes Jackalow, RJ the Jank Monarch, That One Dumbass and the Wizard Moose, Cosmic Crusaders Animasta, Anthorak, a random pup, Blitzwolf, Chazghost, Christopher Fuss, again, Cool Trainer Dark, Dr. Entity, RIP, Eki Bullock, Eva Padilla, Herbal D, Inblink, J.A. Flare, Julian Marquez, Kale the Dragon, Kryptonian Blurred, Lobomaru 02, Manga Pages, Millennia Asta, Mr. Machina, Natia Lee Alexander, Neon Yaminair, Nicholas Murphy, Not Al Gore, Obsidian, Rhyme Kairos, Rogue Wolf, Seraph SG, Shizuka Nijimura, Simic Toadstool, Sonic 21 Blast, Stepfen Huntsman, The Legendary Raven, The Queen of Time, Tiger X2476, Tristan O'Meara, Zadine, Zaldreka, Yazuz 1, Zephrath the Rock Thing, and Zentha, as well as all the lovely Starlight Explorers you see on screen now. If you'd like to help me in my journey to cover all of Yu-Gi-Oh's archetypes, get my videos early, be a part of these credits and other awesome perks, it would mean the world to me if you would check out the link to my Patreon in the description or consider joining as a YouTube member. And if you want to go back to where all this legacy support comes from, check out my original video on Magnet Warriors. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.